Hey guys, today I have another watercolour painting to show you. I'm taking a little bit of a break from my eye studies, all those limited palette studies that I've been doing, and I'm super excited to actually do like a proper size painting. It's been it's been a while. The last I did one was probably when I got back from Japan, so it's probably been about 3 weeks since I've done a proper painting. Now anyway, onto the painting. This painting, it's a painting of Medusa. It was done in response to a Instagram challenge held by Zesty Does Things over on Instagram, and it's called a creature feature design contest. And the challenge was basically paint your version of Medusa, or create your version of Medusa in your own chosen art form. Now, I wouldn't say that I stayed true to the myth or the mythology. I don't know too much about Medusa, but from what I understand is she was cursed to be hideous. I've heard that it's because she broke a vow of celibacy. I've heard because she bragged that she was the most beautiful out there. I'm not too sure, but I don't think I went towards the hideous side. I more so just took the snakes as hair and ran with it and kind of turned it into my own version of how I'd like to see Medusa portrayed. Now that I have done this though, and I've thought about the myth, I think it would be really cool to do a more true to the mythology inspired Medusa, but at the same time, scales and snakes and dragons, anything with scales is the bane of my existence when it comes to painting or drawing. So I don't know, it might be a while, if ever, that I get around to doing that. Now for the background that you're seeing me paint right now, it was only done with 3 colours. It was Perylene Green, Moonglow, and I'm pretty sure the other colour was Perylene Crimson. That's a mixture of Holbein and Daniel Smith watercolours, which is what I'm using in all my paintings at the moment. And when I was going for this background, I didn't really know what I was going for. I had a few different options for my background. One of them was, well, with my colour swatches, I did one background with Moonglow, and then I did one background with like a really light kind of limey green colour. I did another one with an indigo, and then I did one with Perylene Green. And I liked the one with Perylene Green the most. And then I just thought I wanted to add a bit of a red into it and started playing around the colours. So that's how the background turned out. There wasn't a game plan to it, but I'm happy with how it turned out. I thought it might look a bit more foresty in my head at the start, but I like how it turned out. I think it looks a bit more stony and granity. Now I did the skin differently this time to how I normally do. Well, look, it starts off the same, but I just had a bit of a different technique, which I think that is called patience. No, but I wanted a really smooth blended skin. Even the shadows I blended out a lot, and I really enjoyed working with this technique. I think it's generally called charging, but also can be called wet and wet. Correct me, I don't think there's a difference. And I hadn't really done this before throughout an entire painting. I often do, or always really do, blend out like my blushes and that, but I am always harsh with my shadow, and there's nothing wrong with that because a lot of shadows, if you look around, they are harsh. Lights cast a shadow and there is a stark line where you can see it's been cast. But I did not do that in this painting, so you'll see it soon. I did my shadow in purple and I blended it all out. I made it really soft and I think it looks really nice. That said though, I was really happy with how it looked, and I think I was scared to then combine the techniques of having, you know, that wet on wet or that charging technique and creating soft, smooth blends and layering. So going forward, I would love to be able to slowly combine those two and keep improving with my paintings. And I feel like this painting is a big step forward in that, so I'm excited to move on to the next one. Not that I know what it is yet. Now, normally when I am painting people and I am painting in that blush, I use quinacridone rose. And at the start of this painting I did, and for some reason it just looked way too pink in this painting. Maybe it was the background, I'm not sure, but I wasn't happy with it. So I then went in with Pyrrole Scarlet, I want to say. I'm pretty sure it was Pyrrole Scarlet, and went over the blush and added more of that red to it, and I really enjoy how that looked. So I'm not sure what I'll do moving on into the future because I felt like I'd figured out my pale skin colour set, and now Pyrrole Red has just shaken me. But I do suppose that might be a sign of growth in my artwork, that I am branching out and trying more colours and being more critical of my painting as I'm doing it, and I think I just find it more comfortable to paint what I know, so I've got those colours that I know I like together, and why try something else when I am already constantly battling to try and figure out how to use watercolours. As I've said before, I am no expert in watercolours. In fact, I'm very much a beginner. So every painting I am learning and thinking so much about what I'm doing that once it feels like I've figured something out, I don't want to change it. So moving forward, I challenged myself to change it up, try new colour palettes, keep doing my colour compositions before I actually start painting, and hopefully I'll get more confident. And that's one of the reasons why I started off using a limited palette and only had, I think, 12 colours in total in my palette, is because I didn't want to get overwhelmed with colour choice. I actually wanted to learn how to use a limited palette. And now that I have, 40 extra Holbein colours, I am spoiled for choice, and I don't want that to cause me to take a step back and rely on those convenience colours, or to feel overwhelmed and be scared to even use the paints that I bought and just stick to the Daniel Smith ones that I know and am somewhat comfortable with at the moment. That said though, I just say like my warm yellow that I use is New Gamboge. In all these new Holbein paints that I have, there are warm yellows in there, but I haven't even reached for them because I don't understand why I would want more than one warm yellow. I feel like you don't need that many colours to have a diverse palette, so who knows, maybe once I run out of New Gamboge I'll dip into whatever yellow my Holbeins have. Anyway, thank you for sticking with me through that little bit of self-reflection. Let's focus back on the painting. So as you can see, I did that purple shadow that I talked about, and it's really soft and well blended, and I'm really happy with how I blended it. I'm pretty impressed with myself. I feel like that was a huge step forward for me. And so now I've laid down the blush, I've laid down shadows, I've laid down colour on the lips. I use a warm yellow with my blushes as well. I feel like that adds more dimension, and I feel like the face is pretty dimensional. So now I'm doing one glaze over with a skin tone that I mixed up, and that was the only glaze I did. I really wanted her to have this really pale skin. As you will see later, it matches the snakes and her eyes that I'm painting right now, which are pink. Now I absolutely love how these eyes turned out. I think they're really cool. I do darken them a bit more later. Oh no, I darken them right now. And I didn't give her any pupils because I really just like the look of that like foggy pinky red eye. Now we are onto the snakes. So the snakes, they were inspired by a gouache painting of a single snake that I did quite a while ago, which was a white snake. I think it was an albino snake, but it was a white snake, and it had almost this rainbow reflect in its scales, and that's what inspired these snakes. I think I did go a lot more coloured. Coloured, is that the right way to say it? I put in a lot more colour. There could have been space for white, but I didn't add that. I think that was because I wanted to add in all these different pastel colours to create that effect, and the snakes were so small that I just didn't allow room for it. So the colours that I used for the snakes, I used they were all pastel or really watered down colours. So there was a pink, a blue, a yellow, and a purple. Now the yellow was a cool yellow, and I can't tell you about the other colours because I'm not sure. But I still use that wet on wet technique for this one, so all the colours do blend together as the paint dries. Now I didn't actually always use this in the skin, because in the skin a lot of the time I lay down a colour, it dries, and then I lay down whatever colour is on top of it. So just say I lay down the blush, it dries, and then I put that warm yellow on top, and then I blend it out using water. So it's really layering, but I guess I did a mixture of it. What I'm trying to say is that I wanted a very well blended painting, and I think that I achieved that. That's not saying there wasn't definitely room for improvement, but I think I achieved the well blended vibe. Now, as I've said, snakes and scales and any scaled creature are the bane of my drawing slash painting slash creative existence. So I cheaped out, or made the decision not to add in the scales. Does it make them look like worms? I don't think so. I feel like they're still kind of snaky looking. Maybe that's just because they actually have eyes and faces, you can see, but I think I did well enough keeping them away from looking too wormy. Now the snakes also have red eyes. In the photos that I looked at, just for quick reference, of white snakes with that kind of rainbow reflect on them, They all had black eyes that I saw, but I thought the red eyes would tie them in nicely with Medusa's eyes. So I kind of feel like the painting overall has this pastel albino kind of vibe to it, and I think I like it. One thing though is I actually made the decision not to give her eyebrows because I thought it would look cool. I do think I could have pronounced her brow bone a bit more to show more dimension on the face, so that is one thing that I would definitely critique this painting for. And if I was to nitpick, I feel like her bottom lip gives her a real underbite kind of look. I think on the left side there I pulled it out a bit too much. I actually don't mind the look. I think it makes her look a bit more angry and like annoyed at whoever she's staring at. But on the very unlikely occasion where I actually do a painting where I don't want someone to look real annoyed or angsty, then that might be something that I wouldn't be too happy with in the end. Then I also did go in with gouache to add in a few highlights and just touched up on a few final things. I then went in with this metallic watercolour and I outlined the edges. That was a plan I had from the get-go. I didn't know if I wanted to use a silver or a gold, but I did want to use a cool colour, so I felt like silver was more easily in that category. And I mustn't have filmed it, but I did use some coloured pencils. I think I used a mixture of my Prismacolors and my Faber-Castells to outline the snakes so they stood out from one another a bit better, and I outlined her neck and I think the side of her face. Not sure how I feel about that one. I'm still practicing incorporating pencils and I'm not confident with it at all. So if anyone actually has any resources for mixed media with watercolour and coloured pencils, hit me up. I would absolutely love to learn more about it. Anyway, I cannot believe I've actually talked this long. Here are the final photos. You can see the nice reflex there. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up and feel free to subscribe if you would like to. I try and upload videos every Wednesday to Thursday. My Instagram's linked down below if you'd like to see more of my artwork. And thank you so much, guys. Have a great day.